Welcome back to the studio. As you can see, we're in the wood shop, and I've had a few questions about this frame and panel system that I use. As you can see, the panel fits into the frame with a perfect reveal all the way around, so it's like a float frame. And in this video, I'll show you exactly how to make it. I'll start with the panel and then make the frame afterwards. The panels are all made with furniture grade birch plywood. And so I'm going to take a measurement here. It's 6 1/4. That'll be my first rip. And generally I'll save any of my short pieces of plywood because, as you can see, it doesn't take much to make one of these panels. So I'll probably get at least 4, but I'm not going to make 4 now because I'm making a video and I don't want to take that much time. So 6 1/4. The crosscut is at 7 1/2. So I'll square up the one edge first. Since I have one of these panels here, I don't have to measure. To make the flange, I'll lower the blade just a little lower than that right there and set the fence at 1/8 of an inch because my saw blade has an 1/8 inch kerf. Take a look and see what the best side of your plywood is and always put the best side down. I'll make that cut on all 4 sides of the plywood. Now I'm going to set the fence at 1/4 of an inch, and I'll use the panel that I've already made and lower the blade. That's good. Doesn't matter if there's a little groove here because it's on the inside, you'll never see it. Now I'm going to run the panel over the saw and remove this. Forgot to turn on the dust collection on that one. So there's my panel. You can see it's exactly like this one. Has the same reveals. You could test it by doing this. That makes sense, I guess. So now we'll go ahead and make the frame. For the frame, I'm using a piece of walnut. So again, this is a good time to use up any of those offcuts that you have from other projects. And the first step will be to raise the blade. I'll take a measurement of this frame. So the frame is 1 3/4 inches. And the nice thing about that is you can put the paintings on a shelf or something. They don't need to hang on a wall. They can simply sit on top of a cabinet or inside a shelf, and that makes it kind of nice. You can also hang them on a French cleat, which is nice because you can add a French cleat to the back of the frame. I'll lower the blade a little bit, set the fence at 1 3/4 inches, and make 4 rips. The standard frames that I make are generally all 5/8 of an inch wide. But since this is walnut and I can make it as whatever size I want, and it will be nice to have a thicker walnut frame for some paintings, I am going to keep it almost this exact size. I would have kept it this exact width, but I've got some resaw marks here that I need to remove. So I'm going to just take a little bit off, maybe half a saw blade, clean that up a little bit more. I'll need to raise the blade and make those cuts. Because this measurement is just a little light of 1/2 of an inch, I'm going to set the fence at a full 1/2 of an inch. That way the surface of the panel is just a little bit below the surface of the frame. I'll lower the blade because I'm only cutting in 1/8 of an inch on this frame. I'll go ahead and make that cut on all 4 pieces, so it's good to see what your best side of your material is and make sure that'll be facing out. And I'll go ahead and make those cuts. Now I'll raise the blade, so I'm cutting this section off here. I don't need to go all the way up beyond that kerf, basically splitting the kerf, and that'll remove this part here. And I'm taking off 1 full saw blade, which is just about 1/8 of an inch. Now you can see how that's going to work. This is going to catch the flange so the panel comes in from the back and doesn't fall out the front. I made this cut a little deeper than it needed to be. It doesn't matter, nobody will ever see it. So the next step is to just cut the miters and hopefully cut them right so the panel fits in the frame. I'm using the miter sled to cut the miters. You can use a miter saw too. I feel like I've been getting better results with the miter sled, and also when I'm making frames like this, I'm generally batching them out. So when you're doing that, it's important to kind of keep everything the same size. I know I'm making this frame a little bit wider, but when I'm making a bunch of frames, I'm always making them that 5/8 of an inch wide because that's going to affect how your frame goes together, and basically just want everything to be exactly the same because it's just faster. So now I'll go ahead and cut these miters. Hopefully the frame will go together well, and then we'll glue it together, nail it together, and see how the panel fits. I've taken a minute to set up a stop block, and I'll cut both of the short sides, then I'll readjust the stop block and cut both of the long sides. I've got the miters cut. Everything looks good. And now I'm going to nail the frame together with 1-inch long 23 gauge pin nails. And what I do is I'll put the miter together, and then you want to wet your fingers. Don't lick your fingers because that's disgusting. And that'll give you some grip, and you can hold the miter together, kind of pinch it with your hand, and nail it. Then just work your way around the frame. Make sure you don't screw up and put the short side to the short side. You want to make sure you're alternating. Otherwise, you'll build your frame wrong. While the glue is still wet, I like to use a damp rag to remove any of the glue. You want to do that on the inside of the miters too. If you use too much glue, you might get a lot of squeeze out, and that would prevent the panel from fitting in. This one looks pretty good, I think. Now we can check out the panel. And there you have it. Okay, well, as you may have guessed, that was an older video that I ended up making unlisted on the channel because before I started to work on the frame, I was talking about something else that was kind of unrelated, and the video didn't really perform, so I made it unlisted, but it was still good information on how to make the frame and panel system. And as you can see, this frame is a little bit thinner. The one in the video was about 1 inch or 1.25 inches. It was made out of walnut, where this one is a fumed oak that's or maybe thermally modified oak. Gives you this nice deep brown color. And also these panels I always make the same exact size, so I can take a frame like this, kind of a big gold, you could say gaudy maybe. Sometimes it works. I don't think in this tool painting that this frame works, but other paintings, the gold frame, I think does work. The reason why I ended up posting the framing video this week is because my painting fell apart. So I was working on a painting of the garden, some peonies up here, a poppy from a photograph that I had taken last year, and the painting just fell apart on me. I lost it. And so I didn't have anything to post, and I have had a few questions on the framing system. So that's why I did it. Now this is an underpainting that I'll go back into. I always say that during my videos. If your painting falls apart, just walk away from it. You can go back to it another day when it starts to dry a little bit, and then you have a nice underpainting to work with. So as long as you're making you could call this little part here a lip, and maybe this part here a flange. As long as you're making them so the frame will accept the flange, then you can make the detail on the outside of the frame any way you like. So it's kind of fun to do. If you have a wood shop, you'll have no problem making this frame system. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Please leave a comment, share these videos with a friend. I'm looking at this and I'm starting to like this painting. I don't really like it, but I think I got something to work on. So like I always say, don't get frustrated, just keep painting, move on to another painting, because as I sit here, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, it may have potential. All right, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week.